guys, welcome back to my channel. It's hard for me to find spots out here in my yard that are good, and it's really bright and sunny today. So this is where I'm going to do it to avoid neighbors in the front and neighbors on the side, because this is still a little awkward for me. But anyway, I'm going to be cutting back a lot of things in the garden today, and I wanted to talk about clematis because I had a lot of questions about clematis when I first planted it, but I knew I wanted one because when we lived in Ohio, when my husband was in dental school, we loved ours there. It was just so beautiful. And so I planted the same purple one, or at least one that looked like that, when we moved into the house here. I do know that mine is a group 2. There's different ways to prune them, and it can be kind of confusing, but I also think that it can be simple. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit, just what I've learned from doing some research. It all kind of depends on the bloom time. And so Group 1 or Group A, I've heard them referred to as Group 1, 2, 3, but mine says Group B. So anyway, I'm just going to call them 1, 2, and 3, and just know that the one that I have is Group 2. But Group 1s will bloom the earliest, so you don't want to cut them back. You kind of just leave them, as far as I know, in the spring. You can maybe do a little bit more research on that if you're not sure and you have a Group 1. So if they bloom before June, don't prune. Group 2, you cut back a little bit. You don't give them a hard cut back, and they're the second ones to bloom. So they kind of bloom, I would say, June-ish. That's when mine blooms. And so I'm going to come back and cut mine to some buds, but I'm not going to cut it all the way back because it will bloom on some of that older growth. And then Group 3 bloom later, and so you want to give them a harder cut back. So that's just kind of the basic about pruning clematis. I don't think you can hurt unless you're like pruning clear down to the roots. And so if you don't know which one you have, I've heard that the thing that you do is to just cut it back about halfway and see how it does, and then you'll kind of learn your clematis. But me, knowing that I have a Group 2 because I have the tag, and I'll probably put up my variety on the screen here, but it's a beautiful purple one, like I said, that we had that's similar to the one that we had when we lived in Ohio. And when we lived there, I don't know anything about gardening, and I love to plant flowers and stuff, but I didn't do any gardening research, and I don't even remember doing anything. We probably did cut it back because it grew up on our tree. We never killed it. So it was pretty safe. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing to mine. I'm probably a little bit later, but it's actually kind of nice that I'm a little bit later because I can see the nice new growth coming in, and the buds are super clear. So let's take a closer look. This is the east side of my house, and it's super bright. The sun just came up. It's about 9:30, and so hopefully you can see this. I am going to get in a little bit closer here, but you can see that I've already got some good buds forming. I've got some little blooms coming out, and then I've also got a lot of this kind of dead wood. So this is the dead wood that I'm going to cut out. I'm going to just follow it back. So let's follow one back. This is all pretty dead, and that is dead all the way to the ground. Actually, if I follow it down to here, this is dead all the way back, all the way, and it goes up here. So I'm going to cut that off down to the base actually and pull it out. And this isn't the prettiest area of my house. This is kind of the back area, but this clematis will make it super pretty. Okay, so I'm going to cut this. There's no growth on that at all. I'm going to cut that all the way out. And it looks like there's another dead one here that I'm going to cut that kind of goes through. And you can just start at the top, at least that's what I would do, and go down if you see any dead ones. That's unfortunate. This is its 3rd year, so I'm hoping we get a little more out of it this year. You can see how far it got last year just by looking at it. I also need to secure this trellis. This one's dead here all the way down to the ground, so I'm going to cut that. Also got new growth down here that I can see, which is nice, especially since I feel like I'm losing some by cutting this out, but it wouldn't have done anything anyway. It's really wrapped around this trellis. I also came in here and gave it some fertilizer a couple weeks ago. I think that's why it's really sprouting. Trying to see what's going on here. These are just intertwined. So I'm actually gonna wind this back up here. Got my Felco pruners. I love them so much. Okay, I'm gonna bring you in a little closer. So hopefully you can see, I know there's some shadows, but I'm just gonna cut this down because that's all dead. It's a dead piece I cut. This I'm gonna cut off. That's all dead. I'm gonna go cut this. I'm gonna cut these little side things. That's kind of securing it, so I'm not gonna cut that. And then down here, see, I'm gonna cut this here, so that's dead. And this I'm gonna cut. Those side things I'm gonna cut. Our water gets turned on Monday, but I feel like it's needing some water, so I'm gonna do that next. Okay, hopefully you could see that. I feel like I should have done that in the evening so you could see a little bit better. I also wanted to mention that I know that clematis like cool feet and they like to be in the sun. So I thought this was a perfect spot for it on the east side of my house, especially planted in front of this bush here because the feet back here can be shaded for the most part. They're gonna get a little bit of sun, but for the most part they'll be shaded, but it's already getting little blooms on it. I'll show you a couple. See the little buds? Super excited. I love clematis so much. So hopefully that was helpful. I wanted to get on top of that today and I have a list of things to do. So thanks so much for watching and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.